Hey, grade. Today we're going to be doing a mini lesson that is on theme and character traits, which we have covered a few times, but is a skill that we definitely needed to review after looking at our benchmark data. So our mini lesson today is on character traits and how they reveal theme. As we know, theme is the message, moral, or lesson of the story. So it's what we learn by reading a story or what the author wants us to learn. Character traits are aspects of a person's behavior, their attitude that makes up personality. So when we think about character traits, it's kind of what is this character's personality? What words would we use to describe them? What words describe their behavior, describe their attitude? So who are they as a person? Character traits reveal theme by showing the way a character reacts to conflicts and other characters. So when you have a character, the way that they react to a conflict or the way that they interact with other characters can show you a lot about their personality and then also reveal what the theme of the story is. The character traits also reveal theme by showing the character's personality. Are they brave? Are they honest? Are they greedy? If those traits are traits of either the main character or maybe your villain or your evil character, oftentimes we can look at those personality traits and see what our theme is. If we see that honesty is getting a character somewhere, then that might be a theme. Or if we see that greed is resulting in a negative action or a negative outcome, that might be part of our theme as well. Finally, we have character decisions and actions. So what a character decides to do, what actions they take can often reveal our theme because it shows what is needed to happen or what decisions they need to make in order for the story to move forward and in order for us to learn about the lesson or the moral of the story. So go ahead and quickly take a look at this warm-up. It says, read the following list of words from the myth, How Fire Was Given to Men, and answer the questions below. So the words are strong, starvation, shivering, miserable, and fire. What do you think the conflict in this myth will be? Which word tells you this? So take a second to answer that question, or those two questions, based on these words. And then the second question is based on the background knowledge of myths and hero's journey. What do you think will happen in this myth? So based on strong, starvation, shivering, miserable, and fire, what do you think will happen in this myth? Our objective for today is I can define and identify theme in the myth How Fire Was Given to Men by tracking aspects of character personalities. So looking at how character traits or personalities of characters can help us discover theme. While we read, we're going to underline Prometheus's traits, actions, and decisions to reveal a theme of the myth. How fire was given to men. In those old times, there lived two brothers who were not like other men, nor yet like those mighty ones who lived upon the mountaintop. They were the sons of one of those Titans who had fought against Jupiter and been sent in chains to the prison house of the lower world. So the mighty ones are referring to the gods and goddesses. The lower world is referring to the underworld. The name of the elder of these brothers was Prometheus, or forethought, for he was always thinking of the future and making things ready for what might happen tomorrow, or next week, or next year, or it may be in 100 years to come. I'm going to underline all of this because we are tracking Prometheus's actions and Prometheus's character traits, and this definitely tells us about Prometheus. The younger was called Epimetheus, or afterthought, for he was always so busy thinking of yesterday, or last year, or 100 years ago, that he had no care at all for what might come to pass after a while. For some cause, Jupiter had not sent these brothers to prison with the rest of the Titans. Prometheus did not care to live amid the clouds on the mountaintop. He was too busy for that. While the mighty folk were spending their time in idleness, drinking nectar and eating ambrosia, he was intent upon plans for making the world wiser and better than it had ever been before. I'm going to underline that as well, because once again, tracking Prometheus's actions, he's intent upon making the world wiser, making the world better. He doesn't want to live in idleness, or idleness means doing nothing. He went out amongst men to live with them and help them, for his heart was filled with sadness when he found out they were no longer happy as they had been during the golden days when Saturn was king. Ah, how very poor and wretched they were. He found them living in caves and in holes of the earth, shivering with cold because there was no fire, dying of starvation, hunted by wild beasts and by one another, the most miserable of all living creatures. Again, I'm going to underline that because this is telling me about Prometheus's character, that he wants to live among men, help men, and that his heart is filled with sadness because they were not happy. So what inference can we make about Prometheus's character? Prometheus is kind, caring, and helpful. And my evidence is going to be that last piece when he said he went out among men to live with them and help them, for his heart was filled with sadness when he found out that they were no longer happy. Any of the evidence that we underline could be used here as evidence, because they all show us about his character, about how he wants people to be happy, how he cares about men and women's happiness, and how he seeks to help them. If they only had fire, said Prometheus to himself, they could at least warm themselves and cook their food, and after a while they could learn to make tools and build themselves houses. Without fire, they are worse off than the beasts. Then he went boldly to Jupiter and begged him to give fire to men, so they might have a little comfort through the long, dreary months of winter. I'm going to underline that as well. It describes him as bold. He's begging a god to help the men so that they can be comforted, which tells us a lot about his character. What is the best definition of the word dreary as used in paragraph 7? So we have to go back here and say, then he went boldly to Jupiter and begged him to give fire to men, so they might have a little comfort through the long, dreary months of winter. Our options are A, cold, B, depressing, C, limited, or D, restless. Choose your answer, and then underline, if you haven't already, some evidence to support. So our best answer for dreary months of winter is B, depressing. While cold is a really good distractor, depressing is our best answer, because dreary does not just mean that the months of winter are cold. You could describe a rainy day as dreary. You could describe a hot, muggy day as dreary. It usually means dark, depressing, and in some ways negative. Some of the evidence to help us with that would be that he begged them to give fire so they might have a little comfort. That comfort is something that would get them through dreary months of winter. And I also thought that without fire, they are worse off than beasts. Not a spark will I give, said Jupiter. No, indeed. Why, if men had fire, they might become strong and wise like ourselves, and after a while they would drive us out of our kingdom. Let them shiver with cold, and let them live like beasts. It is best for them to be poor and ignorant, so we mighty ones may thrive and be happy. Prometheus made no answer, but he had set his heart on helping mankind, and he did not give up. He turned away and left Jupiter and his mighty company forever. Again, I'm going to underline this because this is showing us about Prometheus's character traits. He had his heart set on helping mankind. He would not give up. And he left Jupiter's company, meaning even though he could stay with the gods and live like they did, he would rather help mankind. So what we're going to do here is compare the characters of Prometheus and Jupiter. What I want you to do is fill in Prometheus is, giving some traits of Prometheus. On the other hand, Jupiter is, giving some traits of Jupiter. The text says, providing evidence that either shows Prometheus's character, Jupiter's character, or both, and then telling what your evidence proves or reveals. Go ahead and fill this in And then when you come forward, be prepared to share your answer.